What is going on, everyone? We are here with another episode of the Spotlight series hosted by yours truly, ACK. Y'all know the drill at this point is we are finally up over 100 episodes, got them all recorded, got everything done. It's only taken 3 years to get to 100, but I mean, hey, we've just been cruising along, having a blast, and I'm super excited for today's interview. It's always weird to kind of have an interview with someone that you've been talking to for a while, like when it comes to like writing music and just talking about life in general and stuff like that. But like, I'm just super excited to have him here because these are the interviews that I do love, even though it kind of is weird because we've been friends for a while now and we met through other artists that have been on the show. And that's really what it's all about, too, is making those connections in the music industry and just having people that you can work with and share music with and just talk about life in general. So I'm super excited for today and I'm welcoming Trey James to the show. Trey, how are you today, man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
And not too bad. Obviously, first and foremost, thank you for just taking time out of your day to be here, do the little podcast, and talk about your story through music.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
No, of course. I mean, obviously, kind of before I get into the whole questions and all that stuff and start rifling them off at you, but like I said, it's always cool to have those connections in the music industry because I think we met through Izzy, who was on the show, Izzy Grace, if you guys remember that episode. But we kind of met through that, and then we started talking about writing music together and started talking about the podcast, having you on, and it just that's what it's all about at the end of the day for me is just making those connections, meeting new people and hearing new stories. So it's just always cool and I just appreciate you being here today.
Of course.
So really kind of just hopping into the first question. It's always the basic of basics, but where did music really start for you? Because I know for some people it starts the day they were born. They start humming nursery rhymes and all that fun stuff. But then someone like myself, I only started the songwriting and producing aspect of things about 5 years ago now, back in 2018. So that was only 5 years ago in my life, which is kind of like an eternity at this point. But then some people, like I said, they pick up their guitar, they start singing the day they were born and stuff like that. But for you, where did everything kind of come about?
Um, I think I've always enjoyed music. Like growing up, we always listened to music and stuff. And I remember being younger, like I don't know, I would love to sing, but I never knew if I was any good or not. And I didn't know how to play guitar or anything like that. And I just kind of, I told myself I wanted to be a singer. I can remember telling my mom like, I want to try out for like America's Got Talent or whatever. And she was like, "What do you want to do?" And I was like, "Well, I want to sing." And then she's like, "Well, sing for me." And I was like, "Oh, I can't do that." And she's like, "Well, how do you expect to sing in front of all those people?" And I was like, "You're right." So then I kind of gave up on that. But then uh, I guess my junior year of high school, I took a guitar class, and yeah, I don't know, I fell in love with it. And I've always been pretty creative. I used to draw a lot and stuff. But writing songs just started as soon as I learned how to play guitar. Writing songs started to click for me, and so I guess probably like junior year of high school or so.
Yeah. No, and that's awesome because like I said, like you can sit there and listen to a lot of artists' music and be like, "Oh yeah, they have some really cool tunes and stuff like that, like their songwriting's cool." But to me, it's like where did you pick up your first guitar? Like where did you first get that pen and paper and start writing? It's always cool to just hear those backstories on how everything kind of came about.
Right.
And obviously kind of I reminisce a lot too with what you just said is like listening to music like when you grew up too, like there was always music playing in the household and stuff like that 90s early 2000s country, like
Right.
especially for me, was what was always playing in the household. Like we had Travis Tritt, Garth Brooks, Tim McGraw, I mean Blake Shelton. I could just keep going on for hours. And this question, like I said, I could just make a whole podcast on this next question, is talking about inspirations when it comes to singing and songwriting, because I have so many inspirations when it comes to songwriting. I mean, I love Garth Brooks, I love Chris Daughtry. I mean, there's so many talented songwriters out there, but for you, who are some artists that you kind of really look up to when it comes to the songwriting process?
For songwriting, uh, I mean, I honestly, I really, in terms of like production wise, I don't really care for parties like sonically how it sounds as much. I don't think it's bad. I just that's just not my thing. But his songwriting is a big influence on mine. I really like how he can just take a concept or an idea and make a whole song about it. Just the way that he words things is really cool to me. And then I think honestly, it's kind of the same thing like with Sam Hunt. I think he's such an underrated songwriter. Um, but then uh, I don't know. I really related to Luke Combs a lot in like high school and stuff, and that was a big reason why I got into music too. So I think his style of writing is really cool. And then I don't know, man. There's a lot of people.
No, that's what's so tricky about that question sometimes is because there's so many amazing artists out there that you can pull from vocally and that you can pull from lyrically and stuff like that. And like I said, I could literally just go on for hours talking about that one question. And that's really what always draws me in too about artists is their creative process and their storytelling aspect, because that's what I look for when I have artists on the show is if they can sit there and write a song that's going to tell a story from front to back, like, and I could just close my eyes and paint that picture throughout the whole thing, like, that's what I love. And that's what draws me into artists like yourself. Obviously, I Ain't Missing You is just a story. It's just classic, and your vocals just add to that extra layer to really just put the cherry on top. And it's super cool. But I always have to quote Garrett Walker, who was on the show. I mean, this guy, like, I literally quote him on everything now. I should just sponsor him at this point, or he should sponsor me for the podcast. But I love that guy. And we were just talking the other day too. But he always says is the creative process is like a puzzle. You have all those pieces kind of scattered around on the table, and slowly you just have to figure out piece by piece what fits where. And then eventually you start putting that border together, you start putting the middle together, and by the end you have that full masterpiece. And obviously you have the one song out right now, which is I Ain't Missing You, and then obviously I know you're working on some new stuff too that's going to be coming soon. But what is kind of your creative process like when it does come to writing music?
Um, honestly, I'm not. It's tough for me to force out a song. Like I kind of have to be. It's like a feeling. I don't really know how to describe it. But usually I'll kind of, or maybe I'll be like driving or in the shower, or like I don't know something, and I'll have like a thought come into mind, like oh that'd be a really cool song idea, or like a line or something like that. Um, and then I kind of just I put it in my notes app, and then I go back to it later when I have time to write, like when I'm in the I guess like headspace to write, and I just kind of try to write around there. But it's just kind of I don't know, it's kind of sporadic. I don't really. I mean, I could sit down like if someone said, "Hey, let's write today." I could do it, but I couldn't promise it would be like the best work. You know what I mean? And it might take me a minute to get into the right headspace or something. So I guess it's just kind of I have to be kind of like motivated by something. I don't know I don't really know. I guess so.
No, but that's how it is. Like that's how some of the best songs come is like they might come at like 1 in the afternoon, or they might come at 1 in the morning. Like it just like you could be driving down a road, or you could be taking a shower, or literally in a dead sleep and then just wake up all of a sudden because like you just had that like spark. And it's always cool too because there is no rhyme or reason to the creative process. I mean, some people can sit there and start strumming a couple of chords and be like, okay, like maybe I can work off of this. Or someone like myself is I strictly start with the lyrics and then worry about the chords and stuff later. So it's always really cool to see how everything kind of forms.
Yeah, I think before when I mean I'm not a really good guitar player now or anything. I'd say I'm pretty average, but before like when I first started learning guitar, I didn't know a ton and I wasn't very good, so I would start with the lyrics and then just kind of only roll with the lyrics. And then once I got better at guitar, then it was like, okay, like I want to try to come up with some stuff and be a little more unique and different and stuff. And I think I kind of flip flop. Obviously, if I don't have like an instrument around me, like if I'm just out somewhere
Yeah.
and or like in the car or something, and I don't know, like then obviously I'm not gonna put music to it. But a lot of times I feel like I try to start with just simple chords and then I'll go back. Like I'll just get the lyrics down, get like how it sounds down, and then I'll go back with like a try to come up with something cool on the guitar.
Yeah. No, and that, like I said, that's always one of my favorite questions to ask because I always just find the creative process so fascinating. And that's just, like I said, is what's so cool about it because like I said, you can sit there and listen to artists all day long and just be like, yeah, they have really cool songs and yada yada yada. But at the end of the day, it's like that's what I love so much, and that's what drives me to keep doing this whole series is to hear these new ways that artists perform their music and how they gather everything together. And you kind of said two words that are going to lead into this next question here is unique and different. You said those are kind of a couple of things that you try to do.
Mhm.
And that's what this next question's all about. And it's always the hardest question that I do ask on the show. And literally, you just gave that smirk because obviously people won't be able to see it. But every time I say that, the artist, whoever is on the other end of the Zoom call, is always given that smirk for this question. And like I said, I always say, thank God I'm the one asking the questions and not answering because I don't know if I could actually sit here and give you a full answer. But anyway, to kind of word the question for you is there are hundreds and thousands of artists out there. Obviously, on social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and then Apple Music and Spotify too, your streaming platforms. There's hundreds of artists out there putting their name out there and being like, hey, this is who I am, this is me, and you go to hit that post button, whether it's on social medias or whatever. But at the same time, when you hit that post button, there's 1,000 other artists hitting that post button at the same time as you. And it's hard. But my question kind of for you is what makes you different from other artists and kind of what can we take away from your music that we're not going to find in other artists' music?
Um, well, I think a lot of what's like what's on the radio now is very not that it's bad. I don't think it's bad at all. It's just it's more pop and a lot more like I don't know, and it's supposed to be that way. The industry is that's how mainstream country music is, and I get it, and that's fine. But I really like the older sound. I try to stick to steel and fiddle and like I don't know some like really country guitar sounds and stuff. Like I don't know. I really want it to be country, and I'm very against using any artificial type of sounds. Like I don't want any of my music to be created on like a computer. I want it all to be 100% like instruments in the studio, um, and just sound more. To me, that sounds at least it's more authentic to me. But from a songwriting standpoint, I try not to be super bland in the stuff that I do. I mean, a lot of artists aren't very bland, but I try to just think of unique ways to say things um, that maybe haven't been said before. I'm trying to just kind of come up with cool ideas and stuff. And I don't know. I mean, I guess that's kind of where I'm at. But I really like the traditional country sound, and I know there's a lot of people doing that too. But um, I don't know. I also think it's kind of cool that like I go to school for songwriting. Like that's my life. You know what I mean? Like I wake up, I go to class, like I go home and I write, like I play music out, like that's that's what it is. And and not a lot of people are songwriting majors. It's just not a common thing. And so I think maybe I wouldn't say it's necessarily like an upper hand or anything. I think it's just something different um, that I kind of get to see how it's taught in a way, and then I kind of have just what I've taught myself and like been influenced by and stuff like that. And then it allows me like to meet people in the songwriting program and stuff and build those connections. And to have like professors, like one of my professors plays guitar for the Opry.
Oh,
And
okay.
and so to be able to kind of like have, some people who can help me out a lot or just give me like really good advice, I think is something that's unique to being a songwriting major. But yeah, I don't know. I just try to stay true to myself and try to just put out as best music as I can. But I guess everybody kind of does that. So
No, exactly. No, but that's what it's all about, though, is just staying true to yourself because obviously you have the one song out. And I mean, I've seen you do covers and stuff like that. We've been on a couple of FaceTimes talking and stuff like that. And you're real, you're raw, and you're authentic. And that's what I think makes you stand out the most. And just hearing the song that you have out and hearing when you do covers and stuff like that, there's no one else out there that sounds like you. There's no one that's ever going to be you, and that's what's really special because like I always say is the artists that I have on my show is I can put you in a list of 100 different artists like on a playlist and hit shuffle, But when your song comes on, it's like, oh, hey, like I know that's Trey because that's like what he does to stand out. And I just know what you do. And that's just really what's special. You kind of fall into that category of that real country, like that real authentic 90s, early 2000s, like we were talking about. And that's just, it's that grit and just that rawness. And like I said, it's just that authenticity that you have. And that's what I love about you, man.
I appreciate that.
And obviously we're gonna get into that when people understand what I'm talking about in just a few minutes here, is we're gonna take a sneak peek to your song I Ain't Missing You. But kind of before we get into that is looking towards your future a tiny bit. With this last and final question is what are some of your short-term and long-term goals, and just what else can we expect down the road from you?
Short term, I hopefully I will have a song out next month. Um, but I don't know. I never realized like when I was younger, I would listen to artists talk about like they would ask them when their music's gonna come out and stuff, and it would never come out when they said it was going to, and it was so annoying. But now that I'm in it, it makes sense. So I can't promise it'll be out next month. Hopefully though. But so I should have a single out next month, hopefully, and then I'm looking to put out an EP in the early fall, and that should have like 3 to 4 songs on it. I just got to kind of narrow them down and figure out what's going to work. But so I guess that's kind of short term within the next like 6 months or so. But long term, I'm trying to graduate school, get the degree, and get out of there. And then I guess just I don't know, just kind of cut my teeth and just try to make it and build as many connections as I can. And I would love to songwrite full time. I would love to perform and play as much as I can. I just love the late nights and like the hustle of it and the I don't know, like you know I don't know, I love it. So that's something that I definitely want to do. If I was playing to one person or a million people, it wouldn't matter. I just want to make music for people. So I think I'll always do that long term. But I hope to do it at a do it and be able to make a living off of it. I guess is my long term goal. I don't have to be rich. I don't care about that. But if I can make a living off of it, that would be sweet.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's always the dream. But I mean, it's so cool, man, because I love what you're doing. And obviously, we're going to write together at some point because we've been talking about it for a while now. And I just can't wait for that to happen. And I just can't wait for the new music and to see what else comes for you. And then, like I said, whenever you start getting out there on the road and start gigging more and stuff like that, whenever you're up in Boston, you're more than welcome up here to play front. And I'll be sitting in the front row jamming out, obviously, of course. But I'm just super excited for what else is going to come for you, man, and I just can't wait to see it all.
Thanks, man.
No, of course. So kind of getting to the fun part of the interview now, which is always my favorite part, is hearing a little sneak peek of the song that you do have out on all streaming platforms, which is I Ain't Missing You. But kind of before we do take a little dive into that, is where did this song kind of all come about for you? What's kind of like the little backstory on this one?
Well, I was sitting on my couch one night in my living room, and I'd been texting this guy who I go to school with, he does all the engineering and stuff for my music. He's not a production major, and I'd been trying to figure out like which song I wanted to put out, and I couldn't narrow it down. I was like, man, there's all these songs that I really like, but they're not a good first song. Like at the time, it didn't feel right, and looking back, I kind of wish I would have done something a little more different or niche or whatever. But I guess you kind of live and learn. But I wanted something that was kind of easy to digest or whatever, and like just kind of a good first song. You know what I mean? At least like nothing too crazy lyrically. I just wanted something simple and just but was still good and something like that. And so I sat down and I think I had the idea of missing like not missing an ex-girlfriend or whatever, but like missing doing things with that person, like going on dates and going on drives and going to concerts, whatever. Just like having that companion and not being lonely in a way. And so I was like, oh, that'd be kind of a cool idea. I'm sure people could relate to that. And it's not a super basic, like, she broke my heart, like blah 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 type of song. So I thought it was something a little bit different. And And so I wrote it that night, and then as time progressed, I mean, the song came pretty naturally. I probably finished it in like 30 minutes. And then, like, as I went on and thought more and more about it, I was like, man, I messed up on the lyrics and this and that. And like, and just over time, I mean, I beat myself up over it, but I kind of came to realize that it was kind of a good thing because it meant that there were so many different meanings that came out of that song. That like in that moment I was feeling that way that oh I don't miss this person but like I miss doing these things and then it was kind of like well maybe I don't know like later on I was like maybe I do like maybe this can relate to someone like still not being over someone yet but just not missing them in that moment. I don't know, there were all these different scenarios and stuff and it was just like I had talked to different people about it, and they were like, "You're definitely overthinking it." And I was like, "Yeah, I do that." You know what I mean? It's just, I guess it's how it is. But um, even like talking to friends, like one of my friends told me, I don't remember exactly what he said about the song, but it was something like um, he felt like it was kind of like one of those like FU songs or
Yeah.
something. And he was like, "Yeah, man, I really like it. Like, it makes me feel good. Like when I hear it, and like, I'm like, oh, I'm not missing you type of deal." And I was like, "That's just not." Really what I was like going for, but it's really cool that you view it that way because I don't know, it just goes to show that like art is and like I guess in this case like the ear of the beholder, but it's just I think it's pretty cool. But yeah, so from that moment when I wrote the song and had that whole idea in my head, my opinions and thoughts on it have changed 1,000 times since then and I think it has so many different meanings now and I don't know. It's kind of cool, I guess.
Yeah. No, and that's what's super cool about it. I mean, because I have it on all my playlists, and whenever it comes on, I'm definitely turning the dial up a couple of notches just
For
to jam
sure.
out to it. And I love, just like I said, like I love the story behind it and just like the meaning. It's not your typical breakup song saying like, oh yeah, she broke my heart. Like I'm sitting here crying now, like whatever. But it's just like, yeah, no, like I don't miss you at all. Like screw off, kind of basically. But like I miss like having that person like to do those things with, like you said, and like that's really what's cool because you don't hear like that kind of side of things. And like that's definitely also like going back to some of the questions and stuff, but that's what makes you kind of different and stand out is you had that whole idea and you just said, well, yeah, I'm gonna change it from just being that typical heartbreak song to just saying I miss just having that someone by my side, but I sure as hell don't miss you.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was kind of cool. I had someone tell me that they thought it was me being in like denial, and I actually did miss that person. And I was like, well, that's just another point of view. I don't know. It's just kind of funny, like how many different angles you can approach it from. And maybe it's because I screwed up on it lyrically, but it's whatever. I
No,
don't know.
exactly. But like that's also what's really cool about songwriting too is when you have that idea and you can go at something like especially that song for example is you can go at it from so many different angles. Like I ain't missing you. Like that's just like you said like there's just so many different angles and like ways to kind of go about saying I ain't missing you. Like I don't care like that you're not here, but I miss the things that like I wanted to do like and I'll like just have that someone so I'm not alone and stuff like that. And it's a really cool concept. And like I said, man, like I whenever that comes on, like I'm always turning it up and I just can't wait to dive into this right now. Yeah, no, so kind of without further ado, we're gonna take a little sneak peek to Trey James's song, I Ain't Missing You.
Missing Sunday drive down a back road. Missing a country concert and a hand to hold. Missing the sunset
So that's a little sneak peek of I Ain't Missing You. And I mean, like I said, man, like I always have to crank it up a couple extra dials when that song comes on because I love it. And you have that old style, authentic, real country. It's what I love. Like you kind of fall into that like Zach Bryan, Tyler Childers, like that kind of like just doing that real country and not what's on the radio. Because yeah, like the stuff on the radio, like we talked about earlier, is good. Like, but it's more that pop country style is what really drives the audience right now, which is still kind of crazy to me, but we won't get into that. That's a whole nother segment for another day, but it's that real authentic style country. And that's just what I love from you, man. And
Appreciate it.
I love that song.
Thank you.
Of course. So obviously you have that one out now. Obviously got new music coming on the way, like you said. And again, man, I just can't wait to see what else comes for you. But so people can kind of follow you and see what's going on. What are your social handles so people can go check you out?
My Instagram is Trey James Music, and my TikTok is also Trey James Music. And then, I mean, I don't really use Twitter or Facebook that much, but so I guess those are like the main two. And then obviously like Spotify is Trey James, Apple Music. Pretty sure it's on everything. I think it's on Amazon, YouTube, like it's everywhere. So it's
Perfect.
all
I
just
mean,
Trey James. Yeah.
no, absolutely. Just simple as that. Trey James music. I mean, people definitely go check him out. He is super, super talented. And I always love when people are like, they always like list Instagram and TikTok first. And then they're like, yeah, I like don't really use Facebook. And I'm like, I'm the same way. Like I have it. Like I have the profile for my music and stuff like that. And like I'll post it on there for like some more like family and stuff like that. But it's just like people always like chuckle when like they go to like, they're like, oh yeah, Instagram, TikTok. And then like all of a sudden it's just like, wait a second. I'd like do it. And they like I feel like they think about they're like, do I say Facebook or do I not say Facebook? Just because it
Yeah,
is so old. But
my
I
Facebook
mean,
has like all my like pictures from when I was in like fourth grade and crap, like stuff that my mom posted. So it's like I don't know if I want that tied to all of my music, but I guess it's kind of funny.
no, exactly. But again, people definitely go check out Trey James. And Trey, again, man, just thank you so much for taking time out of your day to sit here and talk about your story through music, talk about the single that you have out and obviously what's to come. And I just can't wait for this to air and can't wait for new music to be out there from you.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
No, of course. So that kind of concludes another episode of the Spotlight series hosted by yours truly, ACK. Y'all know the drill at this point is Sundays, 1 p.m. Eastern. We got new music, new stories, new people. Never know who's going to be on here. So y'all stay tuned for next week and thanks for tuning in today.